issues with that in the past, and some players have come under fire for it, for things they've said on LAN. Troy went by Big Bad Nadian for a while there on multiple LANs. You saw Super Liven and Super Astro coming in, so from FaZe and Millennium way back in the day, but obviously that's going to date me. Anywho, let's not wait any longer. The matchup is up, and we'll get started with Clubhouse operator bans coming in. First things first, Maverick followed up with Capitao.
Capitao. If there is any map you're going to ban Capitao on, it is Clubhouse, but it's still odd to see. And SSG, interestingly, will follow up their Capitao ban with a Wamai ban. Also an interesting one. So, we're getting down to just the bare bones of dislodging players via nades and whatever other utility you happen to have available. So it's going to be more to do with, burning the ADSs with stuns and then following those stuns up with nades to dislodge players on rafters, for example, or in blue, or wherever the enemy happens to be playing. And with Thatcher still in play, you don't even need to necessarily burn the ADSs. You can just EMP once. So this Thatcher-enabled Clubhouse is very different. The Maverick being banned is going to facilitate bandit tricking or anything of the sort. You can try to counter a breach. However, with the Ace and the Thermite being brought out here from SSG, it's unlikely that you're going to have a lot of success in that endeavor.
All right, Soniqs will be going on a very aggressive roam if their lineup is any indication. Also, given that they're going to be defending downstairs, but their lineup suggests that's not the case. Refer to this a lot as the Space Station roam because, of course, it was popularized by Space Station as a team. Involves Mute and Mozzie being able to hold off certain areas and deny intel for the attackers, and then obviously a castle and a vigil to waste time and utility. A lot of times teams will open up these hatches that you see present on the top floor. One just got popped by Kansan inside of construction, and now there'll be a rotate put into cache as well. The idea behind this strategy is that for most teams, they're not just going to push the bomb site when there's so many players that are still unaccounted for. So of course you want to start with your discovery work and then clear everything out, but the type of setup that you see unfolding for the Soniqs will be done deliberately to slow SSG, and if the Soniqs can walk away with a couple ideal engagements, aka they get a pick here or there, well, then it ends up being quite great for their anchors and those that are playing on the bomb side, who can very likely survive a much smaller wave of pressure from the attackers.
Setup finished about 25 seconds into the round here for the Soniqs. And now they wait for the onslaught. SSG is set up all around the building, no particular entry point focusing on. It looks like they want to apply some pressure through that jacuzzi balcony. The mute jammer there, they'll need to use an EMP to get that wall open if they are going to commit to it. Looks like they will. One exothermic charge to use up, one EMP as well as a minute. Soniqs already getting good value out of this roam. Assuming they can persist for maybe 30-40 more seconds, and they can keep all of their men alive, this is going to be a big win for the Soniqs.
Yet he's been pushed off of his spot up top, so he'll come on back down, but there's a castle barricade on the bathroom door, which cuts off a line of sight that SSG could have, and ultimately, it's going to keep the Soniqs able to focus on a single direction rather than getting overwhelmed. Good news for SSG and their fans is that, well, there's no shortage of tools here to thwart SQ's roam. Of course, what better team to deal with a roam that they helped create than Space Station themselves? Because of the way that SSG has taken this top floor so quickly, we're halfway through the round, it's allowed the Soniqs to peel back and get ever closer to the bomb site. So they've wasted a lot of time. They haven't been able to capitalize off of any engagements, but that's probably good for the Soniqs right now as they haven't put themselves in the line of fire.
Yeah, this is the win that I was talking about earlier in the round. Soniqs are already in a great position to just win the round by default. If they fall back at this point without losing a single body and wait out the execution from SSG, the Soniqs should just win by default. I mean, I know that there's still plenty of utility on Space Station, but how good can your collapse into the site really be with only 50 seconds left and barely any hard destruction actually done yet? I mean, we're going to get the moto drop open here with the last exothermic charge from Luke. That's great. Two more pieces of hard destruction on Bosco, so he can do some work on the church wall maybe. But they have to be careful with that last EMP if there's mute jammers on the wall, they will be the EMP will be needed to open up this church wall.
And there the Selmas go. Nitro Cell prepped and ready for the push towards the bottom of the main stairs, and the Sonics could end up getting their very first pick. No real action here. 20 seconds out. Nitro Cell from Grixer does nothing of any sort. The fragging will begin with Bosco getting the very first kill onto Yeti, and then SSG sweeps into the bomb site. Line of sight's cut off by the smokes, and the Sonics find themselves in between a rock and a hard place. Rexon trying to break free of his prison with Kansan in on it. Luke halfway through the diffuser. Lots happening. The action, will it be stopped on time? No, the diffuser gets planted. The Sonics try to frag out, but they're inside of the bomb site getting swatted away by SSG. Grixer on the flank. Oh. He's going big. 2 kills. He downs 1. All he needs is Bosco, who's still upright. It's a 1v1 with Luke unreachable at this point. He can be secured by Grixer. Find your kill. 3 for you. Best you can do is a 4K. Bosco sitting just near that diffuser, and a pre-fire from Grixer is position given away by the bomb chassis. Bosco doesn't need to move a muscle, but if Grixer swings in this direction and he looks the wrong way, he'll be able to capitalize off of it. Bosco only needs to kill 7 more seconds, and Grixer knows that. He's got plenty of time by about 2 seconds. The Sonics make a remarkable comeback off the back of Grixer, and they take round number 1.
2 seconds off the clock there for Grixer. He came within an inch of losing that round 4 times. 3 to 4 times. So many moments there where SSG could have locked up the round, but Grixer is just better. That's the main story. Full stop. Beautiful play from the man. What a kill at the bottom of main stairs. He really earned that one. And the Sonics have got to be hyped up after a win like that.
I would be pumped. Man, Grixer in his position, playing by the bottom of main stairs, able to push in when SSG's entire focus was towards church and towards blue. The perfect distraction, and I don't know if that was calculated by the Sonics, but regardless, it works out in their favor. And obviously SSG, who are usually quite good in the post plant. We've seen this particular bomb site last week. SSG were very good once they got that diffuser down. They were very steady hand on the tiller type of deal, and they didn't allow any team to get under their skin. Obviously, last week it was DG. Here in particular, it's the Sonics, and Grixer in particular is somebody who kind of lived in the shadow of the other players on his team, every single team he's been on. On E United, oftentimes it was Yeti and Alfama getting the spotlight, while Grixer was playing the roles that he was needed to play while still doing well on all of them. Then Kansan steps onto the team, Rexon steps onto the team, and the spotlight swings onto them. So kudos to Grixer for showing up huge, and honestly, it's nice to see him flourish in this role. The first round for the Sonics was quite convincing, despite the lockdown into the bomb site with only 15 seconds remaining that allowed SSG to get that diffuser down. We'll see what SSG can do on attack here, and whether the Sonics will be just as good at holding them off, as it's now an upstairs defense on CCTV cache.
So obviously, Grixer, great for him, career-defining, clutch and all that. But I also want to make note of the fact that SSG's execution was just too darn lethargic. Oh my. And we've been seeing this from them a lot as of late. They are very slow on their executes. They need to speed things up. Leaving that round to the dying seconds almost, well, I mean, it did cost them. Strategically, it ended up working out by the skin of their teeth. But at the same time, you really don't want to take risks like that. So hopefully for SSG's sake, they'll be able to, pump the gas a little bit and get this ball rolling. For now, in round number 2, the roam from the Sonics on the master side has done a good job of slowing down the take already. Just sitting here shooting drones and delaying the sledge trying to come in from Jacuzzi balcony.
Well, the first bit of action is going to come with Rampy trying to hunt down the vigil of Yeti on main stairs, but Rampy over by Jacuzzi will go right back on to drone. And you can see much of his team on drones as well. Thinking Nate on the logistics hatch can drop in and they could potentially try to pinch somebody over in that area, but Yeti, he's a little bit smarter than that. He's already fallen off quite a bit. The Sonics are aware of where this execute is going to come from, and as that is known, they've now shifted some of their defense as well, focusing on the take that's going to come from construction and likely be a very heavy push in that direction. Everything is at least shaping up to come that way, and the Sonics are wise to prepare themselves for it.
Good control over by construction now, but only a minute left in the round for Space Station. Once again, time being a major issue here. Opening up that single wall in cons is going to give a little bit more maneuverability for any attackers who want to retake into cons later in the round. faking out with the exothermic, but it's not going to work because Grixer's waiting for the detonation. And there it is. Impact tricking successful. And he's got another impact to boot, as well as getting Rampy, but it's a trade. Martyrdom for Rampy as he throws his nade before he dies.
Still, obviously, the numbers benefit the Sonics. They lost their top performer from the previous round after he was able to get 1 kill, so at very minimum, at least he was traded out. This is going to be really tough. A small area is what prevents the SSG team from breaching into construction. It's now been taken care of by this one Selma, so the 15 seconds that are remaining on the clock will be SQ just simply waiting. And a perfect pre-fire from Rexon. I don't know if he knows it, but he's caught Luke in the down. Thinking Nade's been known to make these plays before, but a 1v4 with only 5 seconds remaining. Utility in spades, diffuser in hand, no chance whatsoever. A single kill is all Thinking Nade will get. And once again, the Sonics looking quite sharp on defense here as they've taken both rounds so far.
Once again, the Sonics looking sharp, and once again, the time on the clock just too damn low. Spacestation having serious issues here when it comes to the timing of their execution. We're going to go into a technical pause while we wait to figure out what exactly is going wrong. But we'll get back into the action as soon as we can. That round, Sonics, great job delaying on the Master's side. They were able to slow down the execution from Jacuzzi Balcony for what, minute 30? Something like that. It seems like there's trepidation on the side of Spacestation when it comes to actually executing and clearing out those roamers. You mentioned Rampy was trying to hunt the Vigil top main, and he was just, well, he was very slow at doing that. Eventually, the Sonics just left. And now you've got a 5v5 with what? 30 seconds left? Yeah, you've got construction control, but what else do you really have going for you if you're Spacestation? So, seems like it's just me again. Technical issue extended into the caster booth, it seems. Not exactly sure what is going on, by the way, when it comes to the computers, but we will get it sorted out ASAP. I am worried for SSG. I do hope that they are able to pick up the pace and clear out those roamers a lot faster. I also have to mention, though, that it's not just Spacestation being slow. It's also the Sonics reading into the mistakes the Spacestation are making. The Sonics are aware that if they roam, they can severely hamper the SSG attack. And they're doing just that. They're doing a great job of roaming. So you have to give credit where credit's due and respect their grind, their knowledge of how SSG will execute.
Obviously taking advantage of the real grinder hours, as they call them. I don't know how many accountability tweets or jokes I can make about, but we're going to start now and try to find out.
Have you seen Kino's Life is a Puzzle tweets? Or he has like a puzzle piece on every single tweet he makes?
Yep. And I remember seeing when he was performing really well with OXG, people were tweeting about how he was the missing piece of the puzzle.
I love it. It's just, it all comes together, Parker.
I mean, it is nice, and I will tell you this much. Absent any action in the server, it's been really great to see what LAN brings to the competition. Obviously, best of ones mean that teams that have smaller map pools are going to be in a better position. I don't think that needs to be said out loud, but for people who don't understand, best of ones tend to distill the map pool down to just a couple maps. You're going to see a lot of Oregon. You're going to see a lot of Clubhouse. You might see some Villa. You might see some Cafe. But for the most part, a lot of these maps are going to be pretty standard stuff unless somebody wants to get real crazy with their bans. What a shot from Rexon. By the way, as we're talking about this, and Rampy is going to sit this one out. I don't know if Rampy's going to be too happy about that one, but now this is the second time in a row that Rexon has just blindly fired off of simple game sense and been able to capitalize on both opportunities. Whether it was planned or not, the Sonics got to be happy about that one.
Yeah, good kill there for Rex. And, you know, one of the only ways to get Rampy out of the game is to not let him fight you. He is one of those players that's difficult to challenge. Now that he's gone, though, well, that's a serious tool that SSG have just lost. The C4 there going to destroy a drone. Not really worth it. Not a lot of damage done.
Great utility usage.
Bosco will get the re there. Look at that on green box. Rexon exposing himself to the construction window. And top red control also means that Grixer is between a rock and a hard place, trying to survive and cash, maybe get a refrag. He's likely to meet his doom as he's just been droned out from the drone hole.
And he's got no real utility to count for it. But just like that, Yeti picks up 2 massive kills. Grixer feeds, folds his own body, and Luke will manage to see some of the wall collapse from the Selmas of his dead teammate, but not much he can do in this position. Once again, SSG will find themselves simply outmanned and outgunned. Grixer swings, knowing that he's got a great chance, and he capitalizes off of it. The Sonics hyped up about that one. Grixer, in particular, is pumped. The Sonics have completed the rotation, Michael, 3-0 to start off this map.
Let's go. I can feel the energy radiating from the Sonics right now, and we are going to go for another pause. This time, it's a tactical timeout for Space Station, and I got to be honest, it's now or never, because it's looking like this match is slipping away from the hands of SSG. Yes, we're on Clubhouse, and Sonics are starting defense. They have the advantage in that. But SSG picked attack. So they obviously thought they knew something that we didn't. They want to be winning these attack rounds. This is a situation that Space Station need to recover from, and that's why they're going to bring out this tactical timeout. That last round, strategically, what happened was SSG went for a cash take, and they all died trying to take cash. I mean, that's really it. Every fight basically went the way of Sonics. They are not being brazen in their peaks necessarily, or their utility. That C4 onto the balcony is a good example. But more, the Sonics are reading into the fact that they have a lot of leeway, and they don't need to respect the control that SSG clearly does not have.
Yeah. You don't need to be a pro league level coach to understand that if you pick a certain side and you give up the first 3 rounds of that side, that something's got to change. Something's got to change real quickly. And I think this is when it's fair to speculate the impact that Troy's departure, Canadian, for those of you that aren't on a first name basis, I can actually call him that because, well, we're friends, you know, we hang out and stuff like that. But Canadian's absence on this team is obviously felt from a strategic standpoint. And it's not like there's any other slouches on SSG. They've got plenty of great minds. Lycan is a extraordinarily well-respected coach and somebody who's obviously been around since day number 1. He knows this game inside and out, and I think he knows how to get a good handle of his team too. But clearly something is going awry for SSG. Their very first round, like you said, it was lethargic, it was slow. They brought lots of tools to cut through it, and honestly, within a minute, they'd been able to clear out most of that top floor. But the Sonics were just as well aware of what SSG was doing, and the Sonics just continued to retreat to the site, first tackling that first floor, and then eventually falling back to the bomb site, and then it was Grixer's beautiful clutch, in order to win the round for his team. That was probably the closest round that SSG has had so far. The other 2 were absolute blowouts in favor of the Sonics, and again, were categorized by a bit of lethargic action. So in this instance, I don't know what it is with SSG. They're usually so well practiced, and they tend to be quite strong on their entry, but so far through these 3 rounds, the Sonics really have their number.
Entry into the building on their tippy toes. Like, they're trying not to disturb who's in the building. That's the Sonics, and that's the opposite of what you want to see, obviously. It's a little bit disconcerting. I think that given time, we're going to see SSG, you know, get over this. But here and now, in this best of 1, every round means so much more. And the Sonics are really... I mean, half the round is gone. What has happened here? The Sonics have given up control as they see fit, but SSG has not done anything to push the Sonics out of that control. And in fact, we still see some Sonics players roaming as we hit the minute 20 mark.
SQ has very subtly changed up this strategy. They are more interested in holding on to the other portion of the building rather than just simply sit inside of the bar. Rampy from above leads things off with SSG. Now, Space Station did get the very first kill on this bomb site before. It just happened to come about a minute from when that kill just took place. So SSG are a little bit faster than normal. What? And, well, oh, Yeti's just going to fight his way out of that one, looking for another. But there's 3 sights from SSG aimed in his direction. And no matter who you are, that's a tough spot to get yourself out of. Just like that, Sonic's numbers have been significantly diminished. But that's okay because they were in this position before. And yet they were able to hold on. As long as Grixer and his 7 kills are still there, there's a fighting chance for the Sonics.
Very important that you also keep in mind the time here for Space Station. We're getting close to the end. Ooh, this bullet hole is going to pay off for Grixer. There's kill number 8. 20 seconds now as SSG are an even man count, but they will get the church wall open. That's a great entry point. They're going to have to deal with Super, who's in a great position by Wine Cooler, though, and he's even got a Surya Gate to support himself. Holding the breach. He sees the ace, and there's his second, and oh, Grixer with the cleanup coming in from the hallway. He'll get Thinkinade with the C4, and he'll clean up another with the Roni. Beautiful play for the Sonics. SSG, even with a man advantage when executing into the site, having a little bit of a struggle.
That's 10 kills for Grixer, by the way, if you've been keeping track, and there's no scoreboard up there right now for you to see, but my oh my, through 4 rounds, 10 kills, those are pretty decent numbers. The rest of his team has obviously been able to put in work. You had that one really impactful round from Yeti, and obviously Rexon has picked up some too. Overall, the Sonics doing their part. This is really sharp defense from them. Every single defense that we've seen so far, the players have done what they needed to do, whether it be the aggressive roam and falling off relatively early to hold on to map control, albeit somewhat tenuously on that first floor, but still being in enough control to then move back farther to the basement. When it comes to the upstairs holds, it's been some off-site play that have characterized it, but SQ have had a pretty helping hand from how slow SSG has been. And I mean, I know that the way that we're saying it suggests that SSG is just being slow on their own. But you have to credit Sonics for how they've slowed down SSG. The combination of Mute, the combination of Mozzie, the addition of Vigil, the way that they've been playing around that Aruni, the Sonics have done an excellent job of setting up so many obstacles for SSG to try to maneuver around. And right now, Spacestation are really struggling to do that. As I said before, this is where it's fair to speculate how much of that comes down to leadership. If you have a strong and experienced IGL, possibly one of the best IGLs that we've ever seen in the game, are these defenses from the Sonics as formidable as they appear to be, or is it simply that SSG just don't have somebody to be able to make calls on the fly? That's a question that we can't answer, but it is a fair one to ask at this point in the match.
Yeah, and you talk about the utility that the Sonics are putting up as well on their defense and the layers that the SSG has to chew through in order to get to the fights. But it's also those fights themselves. I mean, that last round, Yeti in Kitchen Hall, are you kidding me? He shouldn't have gotten a single kill there. He should have gotten nothing. And SSG gave up a fight, lost a body to him. That was, I mean, yeah, it was brazen from the Sonics, and it worked out. And that's just it, Parker. The Sonics have clearly read into the fact that they do not need to respect the SSG control because they can just take the fights and win them. And I mean, you know, say what you will about what that means relative to Siege and the meta and blah, blah, blah. It's working for the Sonics. That's the most important thing.
Well, it certainly seemed like SSG were setting up for a very quick attack here, but they've got one major obstacle, and that's Rexon, who's under fire from out on the balcony, soft wall next to him. He's being watched from way too many angles, and he knows that he's a man who at this point is playing to die. 25 HP as more smokes will go off. I don't know if the Sonics are going to be able to bail him out of this spot or not. SSG seemed poised to strike with about 90 seconds still left on the clock, but something prevented them from not taking full advantage of it. Some of the smokes were wasted, as you can see. Bosco's used one of his. All the hard destruction is gone, so SSG at this point just need to wait a little while longer and maybe hope that somebody from the Sonics makes a mistake.
I love what's going on here from Rexon. He knows he just needs to stay alive, and his biggest problem with doing that is the pressure from lower garage. But Yeti opened up the lower garage wall and is going to try and support his teammate. The nade, though, is not something Yeti can solve. Great use of the stuns to clear out the ADSs. Rampy will follow it up with the nade. Still, though, lots of time wasted on that garage take, and Yeti is still a thorn in SSG's side. Playing inside of stock, he could continue to delay the push in through garage just by making his presence known.
The issue for Yeti is that if he's not successful here, he's going to have to get back to the bomb site from the top of red stairs. But oh, how about 3 kills for Yeti? Just as I say that, goodness gracious, he almost clears the whole server out, leaving just 2 remaining members from SSG to do the rest of the dirty work. And those 15 seconds for SSG are going to absolutely fly by. Luke going for the plant. Bosco manages to drag one down, but Yeti a quad. He's finished off by Luke, finding 2 kills on him for this round. Super down below will need to stop this in his tracks, but there's no calls for him. Luke will be able to get this one off, and Super appears lost as he comes back for the retake. No real information from him. He's going to have to just play off of sound and skill alone. Through the drone hole he looks. Luke just moves by but a second. And if he pops up, then Super will be able to capitalize off of this. The Thermite's already been damaged a little bit at such close range that SMG-11 is going to positively shred. Luke is repositioned yet again, and Super will go for a different play. But Luke knows exactly where he is. It doesn't matter because Super lines that one up, and he has the defuser. No matter what they do, Space Station have just not been good enough. And it's 5-0 for the Sonics.
Quad kill from Yeti. That certainly should not have come as close as it ended up coming. Well played to Super. I was a little confused what he was doing there when he was downstairs. I must assume he assumed that there was a Valkyrie cam downstairs or upstairs in the site so he could shoot through the floor. Evidently there was not. So Super looked a little bit lost, but it didn't matter because Luke looked even more lost in that 1v1. Playing to not die, as Luke did, is almost always the wrong decision in Siege. Unless you're in like if it were like a 2v1 post plant and you've got a crossfire and or you can hold each other's angles and refrag, that's fine. But the way that Luke played there, he just gave up everything and allowed Super to play around the situation perfectly. When you're dealing with an SAS kit, you got that SMG-11, you got the shotgun. Generally speaking, as the attacker, you need to position yourself in a way that is unpredictable. You got to take a fight somewhere where he's going to have to flick to you and maybe miss a few of the initial shots from the SMG-11. But Super did not miss. He landed his shot. He is not Mr. 007 today. He is Mr. 3-0-1. And considering that Grixer is hogging all of the kills, that's a really good scoreline to have.
I mean, don't count out Yeti. He's had some huge rounds. You know, this 2-3 Ks that were able to basically defang the attack. And then obviously Yeti got the 4K last time. It's really impressive stuff from Yeti. And he's just kind of been there and not really as flashy as the rest of this team. The Sonics must be very happy with their performance today. And we continuously see Joe Bro, who is dressed to the nines. Oh, all he needs is a turtleneck. And I think he'd look pretty damn good. But other than that, he's obviously very amped up, and this has been one of the best showings that we've seen from the Sonics, possibly ever as a team. You know, I know that people meme and joke around about how, oh, once they get their full lineup, they'll be top 4. Well, the way that the Sonics are playing today, they look like a team that absolutely has the potential to make it into the top 4 here of the NA League.
This is looking a lot like what everyone wanted E United to be, and I agree with the analyst desk here. It seems like they took the best part of the Sonics and the best part of the E United, combined them together to make a different super team in it's Sonics who get to carry that flag, and I'm sure they're very happy about that. It's not over yet. I will say that SSG has comeback potential. You remember, defensive clubhouse. Sonics are winning the rounds they should win, certainly more than they ought to have. The only reason it sounds like we're counting out SSG right now is because, to be frank, Space Station have not looked good in these last 5 rounds. It's not just about the score. It's the fact that Space Station are looking really weak, and Sonics are they are in full control of these rounds, and that's what scares, I think, pretty much everyone when it comes to this match right now.
Well, the first bit of action is going to come on over from Jacuzzi, almost as if we were in the just chatting section of Twitch here, Michael. But regardless, Bosco will be able to open up that bathroom wall now and look a little bit deeper into the bomb site. There are instances where a team plays well, and you can see that, and there are instances where a team plays poorly. And I think in this particular matchup, it's not necessarily how good the Sonics have been, because they're pretty good, but it's also that Space Station just haven't played up to their potential. And there was a call being made, and you can hear Michael being a little bit upset by that, about a grenade from below. Rampy actually would have been able to take Kansan out of the fight if he had aligned that one up properly, but for some reason he was called off of that spot. It's going to allow the Sonics to just hang on. The frenzy that will hit the bomb site is beginning. Down goes Yeti as Fultz starts things off, and Space Station has their best opportunity to take a round away in a 3v5. Grixer drops right into a Claymore, so things go from bad to worse, but Kansan swings. That MPX so deadly in his hands. Good for 1 kill, but not for any more. Super now will need to clutch yet again. He was great enough in the previous round, but he had an impossible task of making it up the stairs back to the bomb site while the rest of SSG licked their chops and waited for the kill. SSG finally gets a round on the board. It comes on their very final attack. They're going to hope to carry this momentum over as they now move to defense, and the Sonics will move to attack.
Very comebackable situation here for SSG. I know it looks desperate. I know it looks like the Sonics are going to be able to roll this one into absolute victory. But that one round, the saving grace of the entire half, it was the only round where Space Station looked composed and poised to win. And, well, they sure did. So well played to Space Station. A lot of that comes down to them setting up on angles, knowing that the Sonics are going to get aggressive and just waiting for the kills to come to them. You'll notice that Space Station at no point in that round went into the actual bomb site. They just waited for Sonics to give the kills away. And that's exactly what the Sonics did. So
they're giving them away.
They're free, Parker. So, yeah, well played to SSG. They finally read into what the Sonics are doing. The question is it too little, too late? Because now that they figured out how the Sonics operate on defense, then now the Sonics are on attack. So it's Sonic's turn to apply the pressure. It's their turn to set the pace. And I personally believe that they are going to feel enabled by that, and this is probably going to continue in the same trend that that we've had so far through this match.
The other thing that's going to work against Space Station is that they don't really have they don't have a safety here. There's no ripcord, there's no parachute. They have no lifeline. They used their timeout at the end of round number 3 after they got swept in that first cycle of bomb sites by the Sonics. So now any type of momentum that they might have will need to continue onward. SQ can still take a timeout at their leisure. And that's obviously a problem for SSG. They made a gamble. They wanted to do better. They took their timeout. They'll lose the next 2 rounds, finally make something work, and then the sides got to swap. That's a tough spot to find yourself in, and I don't envy Space Station here.
Yeah, these kinds of comebacks are really tough to manage. And generally, you know, in this situation, in a best of 3, you'd have the team down bad like this, probably just say, all right, we can handle it in the next 2 maps. And maybe SSG in the long run would be able to figure out the Sonics. But that's not what's happening here. I mean, if the Sonics win 2 rounds, it's over. So, yeah, Space Station are up against the wall. Now, let's analyze the first attack from the Sonics, because they're going pretty quick at this compared to what we saw from SSG. The Master Roam was almost non-existent for Space Station, so it was basically free real estate for the Sonics. They've taken that real estate, and now they're pushing in towards construction. There is Fultz on the Roam, but he's all the way in the basement, so he's not really applying that much pressure to this attack. And all things considered, ooh, that's a good chunk onto Kansan from Bosco using a pixel angle. But as I was saying, all things considered, Sonics are doing generally a good job of executing here and taking the control they need to facilitate this attack.
I mean, this is also still Clubhouse as well. We're still very much set in our ways where we expect the defenders to be playing the way that they have been playing. So expect them to do better than the attackers most of the time. Bosco and Kansan had been involved earlier on, and well, it's Kansan to get the last laugh on that one before the best player from the Sonics removed from the server by Luke. So a counterpunch now from SSG, but Kansan is in the middle of the bomb site. He's got full control, and SSG have just fallen back. They're going to let them have it right now. So it's very obviously a dedicated retake from them. But yet still, where is Super to get this diffuser down? Rampy positioned on catwalk as he's just waiting ever so patiently. There goes the diffuser, 30 seconds remaining. Does SSG know? Rexon with 1 kill, C4 sails on over. Kansan in the middle of the bomb site takes 1 down. He sees another 2, does a whole bunch of damage. Rampy with the kill though is thinking they cannot get back to the bomb site from the top of red stairs. Just waiting, patience, no diffuser. Kansan will need to get the plant off. 2v2, and there's only 10 seconds remaining. This has been a mess of a round so far. Kansan trying to bait out a push, but SSG have been so good on this patience. They're not giving the Sonics anything. Ooh. Coming back to the stairs is Thinking Nate. He capitalizes off of that, and Kansan knows he has no time to be able to get this one done. SSG able to take that momentum from the previous round victory, and they now have a second round on the board.
Again, beautiful patience there from SSG. They had almost no control of their own site, and it looked like they were going to lose everything. But because the Sonics were unable to get the picks that they wanted and the util was still in play, Valkyrie cams in the site, C4 in the pocket, SSG were able to deny the plant without control of their own site, and that's pretty incredible. Kansan was in an interesting position because he was the playmaker. He was the reason why the Sonics had anything going for them at all in that round. He got control of server and then later control of cache. But he failed to push hard enough onto red stairs when the plant attempt started for the Sonics. And that patience is mostly, I think, due to the fact that he had almost no HP left. That early little bit of damage that was done to Kansan through the pixel angle used by Bosco, yeah, that won the round. And it's interesting to see how it all comes back to just the very first scuffle. Kansan probably would have felt more enabled if he had full HP, and he probably would have went for an aggro play on top red to secure the plant and deny the, well, C4 and potential gas canisters that would have flown up from top red, but that just didn't happen. Beautiful play to Bosco, and just in general to Space Station. Again, the patience, I think, is the name of the game here for Space Station, whether on attack or defense. They know that it's what counters the Sonics. Sonics are looking for those picks, they're looking for those fights, and when you give them those fights, they're going to be in control. You have to wait for the retake. It's exactly what SSG did.
And I was kind of surprised that the Sonics didn't send anybody downstairs, because the reluctance from SQ to go in and attempt the plant suggests to me that they were very wary of what SSG was doing, right? It was a full retake strategy. The moment that the Sonics got control of the bomb site, SSG fell off. They had 2 players stacked up on red stairs. They had 1 playing over by construction. So for SSG, they just waited very patiently, and they gave the Sonics enough rope that the Sonics hung themselves on that round. So far, what we've seen out of this matchup is that the attackers have really struggled to gain any footing on these rounds, and I'm not too surprised given what the lineups we see coming out are. This is a very heavy information denial clubhouse. Gone are the ways of utility soak. We still see some of that, especially with the Aruni that was being brought by the Sonics, but SSG likes to play the game of time. They like to control the pace and tempo of rounds. They didn't exactly do it that well on attack. It's a lot harder to do that on attack, but on defense, it's a little bit easier. I don't know if the information has been known, but Rexon goes on drone at the bottom of red stairs, and Fultz reads off of that one quite well. It's the very first kill, and SSG finds themselves up 5v4 with still half of the round to go.
It's not just the information denial from the Mute and the Mozzie, or the Melusi being as annoying as she is. It's also the Valkyrie, who so often goes banned. She's here in play on this match, and it sometimes seems like the defense has lost an abundance of control in these rounds, but they still have the information to play off of thanks to those well-placed Valkyrie cams. That's the big difference maker here. It's why SSG were able to clutch up in the last round. It's why they had such an easy time in retaking and denying the plant in their sight. Here and now, Bosco somehow has managed to find himself in bar while the modem drop is being opened up. This could be absolutely disastrous for the Sonics. They have left a gaping hole in their control, and Bosco is probably going to be the playmaker.
Both of these teams playing a very free-flowing clubhouse so far on defense, and it's been great to see. Plays from Grixer and Yeti were fantastic when they were on defense, and now SSG has the time to shine. I don't think Bosco's been spotted in his position. Rampy was the one that was found out, and if he's trying to bait the Sonics into pushing blue, well, Kansan is going to find himself in for a bit of a rude awakening. But he's not really keen to anger anybody on SSG, mostly because there's only 20 seconds left. So in this position, your power player is going to be Bosco. Down goes Kansan, the drop happening, and there's the diffuser getting planted as well. Kansan sweeps in, takes out Luke, but he's going to get jumped on from Bosco as there's an Assassin's Creed style play. Diffuser goes down, so the Sonics will now need to just simply hold off the tide. SSG looking for the retake, but Yeti and Grixer are still poised to stop them. Bosco versus Rampy, or Bosco and Rampy rather, versus the 2 players from the Sonics. But a retake upstairs will likely be a bigger challenge, as Grixer still has control of kitchen, and drones inside of the bomb site allow for the spam pinging to happen. Grixer side by side with Yeti means that this, well, aerial superiority is going to reign supreme, and there's a line of sight opened up to the diffuser. So SSG will try to disable this at their peril. There's Grixer to finish him off, and now just Bosco in a 1v2 with no time left on the clock. A kill at this point, not really necessary, but they get it anyway, as the diffuser would have won the round for the Sonics. Match point for SQ based off of that attack.
I don't think I've ever seen false information in a pro match before. Rexon was lying to the enemy and saying insight box 3. Obviously, that's not going to do anything. No way SSD is going to actually fall for that. But I'm just making note of it because I have never seen that in a pro match before. You see it all the time in ranked, but it's just weird to see here. Okay. So let's dissect that round a little bit. SSG thought they had more going for them than they actually did in that round. Well-placed Valkyrie cam at the beginning to get the early kill from Faults. Love to see that. Down goes one of your star players on the Soniqs. I believe it was Rexen. So it looks like the Soniqs have been defanged, right? It looks like they're in the position to, or SSG are in a position to just wait out the round. And that's what I think most people would assume. And especially with the flank coming in, your Melusi ready to destroy the attack from behind, you'd think Spacestation would be able to just clutch it up. However, SSD were entirely too focused on a church defense and apparently had less control than they ought to have in Arsenal. Now, we didn't get to see that because we weren't, you know, we just didn't see it on the screen. We weren't spectating it. But the execution into Arsenal clearly went off without a hitch for the Soniqs, and because of that execution going so well, they're able to get the plant down with no denial being brought out from SSG. We're talking about the Valkyrie and how influential she's been in the information game for the defense, and apparently there's just not a cam in Arsenal, the information not relayed, and now the Soniqs are on match point.
Good performance from the Soniqs so far. They'll be happy about this, and a bit of a redemption arc for Super as well. Though he has at this point gone negative, he was at one point positive. It is also something that we need to bring up, and that the role that Super is playing on is not necessarily kill dependent. I know that you want to be able to get kills at this level, don't get me wrong. It's if Super's going 1-8 every single game, well, there's a lot to be discussed there if we're being completely honest. But at this point, he's got the rest of the team performing exceptionally well. Yeti and Grixer are now even at 11 kills apiece, which is a mind-blowingly high number. 22 kills between them over just 8 rounds. It's a pretty impressive tally, and the problem for SSG is that they've had some quieter performances from some of the players that they need. So, not to mention the strategy that goes into it, but there's clearly things for SSG that they're going to want to go back and look over, as they can't be too happy with this performance. All that said, there's still time for them to be able to close this out, or at least close the gap between them, as they hope that the Soniqs can't close it out. And SSG being on defense means that it's a possibility. But at this moment, if I was a betting man, I'd be betting heavy on the Soniqs to win this whole thing.
Yeah, a big part of it is just their confidence. They seem really confident in every fight they take, and that goes a long way. Now, SSD have used one of their C4s to no avail. They still have another and 3 gas canisters here, but the time for the Soniqs is starting to dwindle. And with SSD having a good setup for Arsenal this time around, it might be a very different story than the last execution. Hansen using the SSG charm there just to
I just noticed that.
Whoa, where is Yeti? He's all the way down long haul. Nobody's watching long. Church control for the Soniqs, and they've got a minute left to reposition their players and use this to great effect. Rexen pushes into blue and trades himself out. Grixer gets yet another one, but Faults from blue is able to get a kill in Moto. Nice C4 from Luke. That one hits. Now it's a 2v2 here. But 40 seconds left means the Soniqs do not need to rush themselves in this situation. This round has taken an interesting turn, with the diffuser down inside of Moto and information clearly abundant here for the Soniqs on box 1. This could be an easy isolation. What a flick! But he doesn't get the second one. Now a 1v1, Luke versus Grixer. Grixer clearly the better performer in this match overall, but he's got to get the diffuser down now with only 20 seconds left. Information there again with the red pings coming out here on the final player for SSG. Grixer, though, does fake it out and forces the reposition. Luke's just not good enough in that situation, and the Soniqs will take the match 7-1.
How tense that was, and it comes down to the absolute wire, but Yeti and Grixer get it done, and it's nice to see them able to play off of one another. That's a much-needed victory for the Soniqs, and they can begin to live up to the expectations that so many people have of them. A very disappointing performance for Spacestation, and I'm sure that they won't be too happy with that one, as won't be their fans. So, for SSG, you got the 1 week off, but you're going to need to obviously refine some